Hello everybody, I'm Oliver Hines, aka Diamond Oz from MateUnderground.com, and I'm really excited to say we're here with Barney from Napalm Death.
How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, are you that excited?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be.
Okay, we'll go straight into it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is quite an extensive tour of the Iberian
Peninsula, the posh word for touring Spain and Portugal. Yeah.
So what's brought you down to do so many shows down there?
Well, because the band has always had a very strong regional appeal in here because, well, first and foremost, the Basque Country was, I think it would be fair to say, was the very first place that really grabbed hold of Napalm Death. Obviously, there are certain sensibilities, you know, that they, like the Basques people would latch onto, you know, kind of the Napalm Death sort of ideology, you know. The whole idea of independence and stuff, you know, was I think there's a certain connection there, you know. But then also in Catalonia was also great for us, you know, a greater Spain as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a general sort of not only musical but sort of, I guess, ideological, for want of a better word, connection, you know, between Napalm and you know, this part of the world, Portugal too, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it means that we can play like 15 gigs, whereas most bands might probably only stretch to 4 or 5. I don't know.
Most bands that come out, they'll do Madrid, Barcelona, maybe Bilbao and Seville.
Yeah, I mean they could do more, you know. I think most bands could do more. We choose to, and plus we've got a long association with the promoter here, and so we can basically do what we want over it, you know, which is a good thing, I would suggest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean to be fair, that's kind of the general Napalm thing, is that we go places and tend to do more than what most bands do. So yeah, it works quite well. You know, never seems to be a disappointment or whatever. So yeah.
I've only been to one show over here, and the Garaje which was Brazos de Paro.
Yeah.
That was fucking insane.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully so. Yeah.
Well, obviously in a minute you're still promoting Apex Predators in there, which is one of yet another consecutive outstanding.
Thank you.
Yeah. And most of the albums you've been doing for a while now, at least since Smear Campaign, seem to have a general concept, not so much a concept album, but an idea.
Yeah, it's weird that, because I always kind of say to myself before we start every recording, I want to make it non-conceptual for a change, you know, instead of doing the bloody same thing, you know. But it never works out that way, unfortunately. These things just seem to mesh together. You know, you almost are powerless, you know, to stop them from being what they are, you know, which is conceptual.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I know, needless, you know, doubtless I'll say it before the next album, you know, and that'll also turn out to be a conceptual kind of album as well, you know.
It probably comes with the territory where Napalm has always been very social and ideological in the way that you're going to be writing about social topics at times.
Well, I mean, we try to be current and also sort of micro-analyse, because to me, my opinion is that sure you can write, and this is, I don't mean to be disparaging when I say this, but sure you can write generic, like sort of social commentary, you know, but surely it's better to pinpoint things, because then then people can have an understanding of what you're trying, because you have to be specific, you know, because human problems, that's the correct way to put it really, not social problems, human problems. It goes to the very heart of humanity, you know. Human issues are very specific, you know, they're very detailed, and you have to understand that if you're going to provide solutions, you know. So that's really important, you know. I always try and be very specific as opposed to generic, you know, because I think a good example is there have been many great bands, done many great albums down the years, anti-war albums for starters, which is fantastic, but there's only so many albums you can do with like Atomic Bomb kind of like detailings and the general sort of thing. I think you have to you have to be a little bit more clever about it. You know, you have to sort of really, you have to really point out why it's really is in everybody's interest not to fight each other. You know, whether it's with fucking sticks and stones or whether it's with atomic bombs, you know, or whatever the latest mega weapon is, you know. So I think you have to really go to the heart of this, and the psychological aspects to it as well, because that's an important part as well.
Yeah. Well, a big part of Apex Predator, or at least a notable part, was the focus on human habitation, landlords, essentially, not the stone landlord assessments.
Yeah.
Is that something that's been affected you personally around that time?
Well, I mean, coming from Birmingham, you know, we had a heavy sort of slum sort of aspect to the city. You know, I mean, people were basically left to live in places that were not maintained, you know, and sort of like the whole stigma around council housing and stuff, which it shouldn't be. You know, everybody should be afforded dignity wherever you are on the scale of life. You know, I think it has to be that way. You know, if we're going to call ourselves human, you know, sort of. I hate this term, but like civilised populations. Yeah. I hate that term. It's a horrible term actually, but it's meant to, it's meant to illustrate kind of, you know, the way that governments talk about their populations. Oh, we're a civilised country. Well, are you really? You know, when you sort of keep people living in such conditions, you know.
Well, even today, at Prime Minister's questions, the initial Prime Minister's report out there,
yeah.
It's going to be 4,000 people on the streets.
I mean, I think homeless people are still the great unnoticed. You know, sure, there's quite a lot. You know, yeah, a lot of homeless sort of organisations do a lot of really good work. But let's be honest, in the general population, it's still a bit like. Yeah, you could do a lot more. It shouldn't be that people should be allowed to live on the streets, you know, and die on the streets, you know, in a lot of cases. So, yeah, of course it's not right. But you cannot be as civilised if you allow that to happen. And let's be frank about it, I think every country in the world allows it to happen. So that tells you quite a lot about the world presently, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even in the UK, I saw some of the council today had put up the spikes to
I just don't get that. You know, I don't get that, you know, yeah. I just don't. I don't understand why there's a street that some people can walk on and a street that the same street that other people can't. Yeah. Walk on or hang around on or whatever you want to say, you know. So, you know, why is it? I don't get the thing as why these are meant to be like public streets. You know, why is it that it's more public for some people than others? I find that completely sort of cruel and, you know, intolerant.
Well, a few points that go related to that, but I'll go with the current government in Britain. A lot of people, including the likes of Billy Bragg, are saying that this government is even worse than it was under Thatcher. Would you agree with that?
I mean, it's a difficult one to equate, you know, between the two. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. I mean, I lived through the Thatcher years and I saw what happened. Probably right, but in a different sort of way. What's it, mate, actually?
If you want that I'm going to bring the food, it's not a problem. Force you not.
Okay, sure.
I need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, all right, mate, go for it. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, mate, where was I?
Well, we were talking about the equation of Thatcherism.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think this government, the current government, does it by stealth rather. I mean, Thatcher was blatant. She didn't actually, she had no sort of remorse about what she did. I think when she did take those sorts of actions, this government tries to dress it up a little differently, you know. So, conservative governments are conservative governments, to be honest. They've always generally been cut from the same cloth. And, you know, this whole idea of having extremely privileged people that will allow the other people to sort of exist, you know, and this hierarchical structure, well, to me it's not. It's unsustainable, you know, and I think at some point, not just in the UK, but I think the world will have to change at some point. The balance will have to shift, you know, because you cannot have a world where as we kind of alluded to earlier on, where 80% of the world is extremely deprived of the most basics, you know, the most basic things that we take for granted. It can't continue, I don't think. How to change it in the short term, that's a tricky one, but it simply has to, I think, you know. Somebody has to come up with something.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, I'm bloody selling out at the moment as it is, but
yeah.
do you view Corbyn as a viable?
I did like him, yeah, I did like him. I like his ethos. I think a lot of people are sort of scratching their heads wondering how we can have a Prime Minister with that actually is very humane.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's kind of obvious that that's probably exactly what we need, but you know, clearly not to some people. But yeah, I liked what he said a lot, you know. And here's the thing: I always sit between two stools, you know. I do have a little bit of the kind of anarchist in me, you know, to where I think that everything needs to be broken down, and we go to things like independent councils, you know, with everybody that has an opinion, and you know, I see definitely the validity in that, you know, and other associated things that could help to ensure that more people get the power, or everybody gets the power actually in the end. So I'm also sitting there as well, but for now we've got the system that we've got. It ain't going to fall down anytime soon, no matter how people try, no matter what the valiant efforts are, you know. So for now, sticking with the system that we got, yes, I did like what Corbyn had to say, you know. I do like the redistribution of wealth. I always have like that concept, you know. So yeah,
it's a lot more tried and tested than trickle down economics.
Yeah, sure, which keeps those in the gutter. It does really at the end of the day. So
yeah. Well, you just shared the billing with Corbyn this year, actually, when you played Glastonbury.
Yeah, unknowingly actually, but yeah.
No, well, how was Glastonbury as an experience?
Yeah, it was strange because we just didn't know it was going to go. I mean, some people suggested that the irony of it was that the original Glastonbury ethos, which I went to some very, very early Glastonburys, you know, not obviously not the ones in the 1950s or whatever, but like sort of later 80s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That ethos, some people suggested Napalm was probably the closest band to that on the festival, actually, you know. But no, I mean, we were in an area which was, as far as I'm led to believe, was kind of still the most independent spirit within Glastonbury. So it was very self-sufficient. You know, there wasn't any sort of interference with that. You know, so it was good for us. I think it was a good thing. At first, when it came up, I was a bit like, you know, but then once I was kind of educated about it and how it would go, and there would be no constraints on the band or anything like that, then I was quite happy to do it. And I believe that we put our ideas on the table. I think it worked pretty good. I think people got the gist. They didn't, you know, we're not po-faced, you know, it's not that we can't laugh at ourselves because of the sheer sonic attack, you know, but I think above and beyond that, which sometimes happens with Napalm when you put it in front of an audience, you know, that can happen, but I think people also got what the general overall gist of Napalm was. So, you know, I would say a result in general, you know.
I mean, it helps that, as a rule, when you're introducing songs, listen to every song, but you'll tend to give a little bit of...
Yeah, I didn't not do that, you know. I wanted to do that. Well, otherwise, if you take that away, then you're kind of stripping something away.
Even if it's something like very basic, like when you do Unchallenged.
Yeah, sure. But again, you know, the set that we had was everything in it, what would have been in it if it was a club gig, you know, so there wasn't anything left.
I was watching video and I thought, it's exactly...
it's exactly like, we wouldn't do it. No way on this earth would I allow us to be sold short in that respect.
No.
And also, like, to the musical side of things, I wouldn't play any kind of set that was tailored to a particular audience. I hate that, you know what I mean? If you're going to get napalm, you're going to get napalm. That's it. You either take it as it is or you don't at all.
And it's good to have a venue where you're not preaching to the conversions.
Sure, well that's the point, you know, I mean, you know, this is always the thing. Like there was kind of a thing back in the days when sort of the punk, hardcore and metal scene was quite sort of compact. And there was a thing to where, oh, it should always stay like this, it should stay this way. But hang on a minute, if you're trying to make very salient observational points, you know, on top of the music, you're just going to say the same thing to the same people. What are you achieving by doing that, you know? See, to me, if punk and hardcore music at that time could make a difference, then make it make a difference. Don't just do the same thing over and over again. You know, you're not betraying yourself by doing that. In fact, you're betraying yourself if you don't.
Exactly. Well, speaking of gigs, and earlier on you mentioned playing Napalm's band was not afraid to play places where a lot of other bands won't go.
Sure. Yeah.
One of the countries you've played for quite a while now is Israel, and there's been this campaign as it is.
Yeah, there's that solidarity. I mean, that's a tricky one because, you know, I really struggled with that. You know, me personally. In the end, I went with a band decision. Would I do it again? Probably not. You know, in fact, most likely not, because I think that I kind of wish I'd have listened to more to my own feelings at that point. I really want to stress something here. This is not, as is often reacted to in this way, this is not something that's aimed at like Israeli people, regular Israelis, not for a second, you know. But sometimes you have to consider what's going on. You know, it's an annexation of a peoples where there should be no human reason to do that at all. You know, I support the existence of Israel. Yeah. I think that everybody should have a homeland. Yeah. You know, but those homelands have to be inclusive to all peoples. You know, me personally, I don't agree with immigration controls such as they are in the world. I think it's far too draconian to say, well, you people can live here and you people can't. You know, I think that has to change. You know, if you don't want war and conflicts, you have to stop these controls on people. You know, so you know, the foundation of Israel as a concept, I totally agree with. The methodology and what's happened since, I don't. You know, so my protest would be against those actions, not against the Israelis themselves. And before anybody says it, I am not anti-Semitic in any way, shape or form. I am a humanitarian. I do not see colour or creed or race or anything. My eyes are completely blind to that, you know, so it's absolutely nothing to do with that. You know.
I think you're probably the last person in extreme music who accused of being racist.
Well, you know.
But it does happen.
Yeah, sure. You know.
Yeah, and that's the other thing as well. You mentioned that before the anti-Semitism argument comes up. For me, it doesn't even have anything to do with the actions of the government. It's nothing to do with them being a certain race. It's just the way they're treated.
It's effectively the methodology's apartheid methodology, as was you know, used in South Africa. You know, it's annexation. I mean, okay, South Africa is slightly different geographically in that everything kind of happened in the same land. Yeah. But with Palestine it's different. It's annexation of a territory, you know, where people are not allowed to exercise their free movement. You know, they're not allowed to exercise their free, everyday, transactional things, you know. And by that I mean life itself. You know, I mean, that shouldn't be. You know, it should not be. And you know, on the other side of things, it also isn't like that Israel is attacked. You know, Israel, because murder of people, wherever they're from, is not acceptable. you know, and me as a person who believes in peace, you know, it's not acceptable, you know, but the only way to deal with that right now is to stop the annexation. You know, once that stops, and they can reassess the whole thing and come to a peaceful solution, I'm sure everything will be okay. You know.
So we'll get back onto music a little bit. In March, you had a compilation album coming out, Coded Smears and other uncommon.
Yeah.
I know that's got the Nurse the Hunger single, which was on Decibel.
No, I don't think it's on there. We left it off. Yeah, we left it off because that track's only just being used. Yeah. I felt that it was a bit inappropriate to put that on the flexi itself.
Yeah.
You know, all the stuff generally like that's on the comp is from at least a year ago, I think, or something like that. So, yeah, I just thought it was a bit not good timing to have that song on there. You know, maybe we can use it in the future for something else, but you know, for now. Oh, and the thing about compilation, I was a little bit nervous about it. You know, I don't like reselling people's stuff generally. You know, it's if it's stuff that clearly most people have already got, then I just almost don't see the reason for it. You know, but yeah, I do feel that this compilation has enough stuff to warrant enough stuff that people haven't heard. This is something that people won't have heard, you know, and rare stuff from Japanese releases to warrant, you know, to warrant the whole thing. You know.
Well, I was going to ask if there's any unheard covers on there.
Well, yeah, the Sacrilege track. I think most people wouldn't have heard. Sacrilege being the old, like sort of.
Are they from Boston?
No, from from Sacrilege are from Tamworth, I think, Lichfield, I think, you would know where that is. But yeah, they're from that part, so they're local to Birmingham, you know. But they were kind of a punk metal, sort of one of the very early crossover-y kind of bands from the UK.
I remember hearing the name of them.
Yeah, they're classic band, you know. So yeah, that's I don't think many people have heard that. Maybe not the, although it was on a Century Media comp, maybe not the Despair cover. And some other things on there as well.
Well, obviously, as it comes with the territory when you're in a band, once you've released an album, everyone always wants to know when's the next one.
Yeah.
How's work been going?
It's early days, mate. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, I mean, it's understandable, you know, but when they went into the first session, because we do our stuff in little pieces now because we like the variance that gives you.
Yeah.
You know, you go back to recording something, it probably will sound different because A, you might be in a different mood, B, the ambience, temperature, all sorts of things can affect a recording. So we do it in pieces. So I've only done one piece so far.
Okay.
Very, very early days. Nothing really beyond that. It is very early days. And here's the thing, it will be finished when it's finished. Yeah. We're not going to rush it, you know. I mean, Century Media are fantastic, you know, they really have been great with us, but like any other label, there comes a point where they start to get up your arse a little bit about it, you know, and you just have to tell them, look, it'll be done when it's done, trust us, you know, it's like, it isn't like we kind of don't know what we're doing, in our opinions, you know, so...
It's not like you've ever churned in a bad record.
No, hopefully not. Well, of course, everything's subjective, you know, but it's like...
But like you say, it'll be done when it's done, and it could be, for example, you had Coders read in 2005 and then Smear Campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works.
Exactly, that's how it works at that time. Yeah, at that time, you know.
You can't put a time limit on
No. We'll get it done when it's done.
Oh, sweet. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you about is your vocal techniques, because you seem to be one of the clearest to understand in extreme music, politically, and you don't seem to have the hoarseness when you speak, like, for example, Corpse Grinder does.
Yeah. I mean, the reason today I probably sound a bit off is because in Spain and Portugal, people still smoke in the clubs. I'm not sure if it's actually not allowed. People do, and I must be honest, for anybody that's watching, it's difficult because I don't want to tell people what to do. You know, I certainly don't want to do that, but you know, if I could make an appeal, it's that really people don't smoke, you know, like in and around the club. It really fucking kills me. Yeah. Actually, in Spain, about 4 or 5 years ago, we were on a European tour. We'd already done 3 or 4 gigs in Spain, and every club people were smoking. And what happened was, like the kind of, you've got they're like cauliflower shaped things in you, like the aiolis, I think they're called. I might be wrong in my pronunciation, but mine got infected, you know, from the smoke. Mate, I went on stage to do a gig one night and I just couldn't get a breath, you know. I had to get an ambulance and everything. I was on oxygen. I mean, that's how it gets me, you know, and I'm starting to feel it now, you know, with the smoking over 2, 3 or 4 nights, and it can be problematic because he put me out of action for like 5 days. Like I couldn't sing, you know, for the following. The doctors said like, no way, you know, because you've got a major infection, you know. So, you know, it would be really helpful if people didn't smoke, you know, in clubs, you know. And as I said, I don't want to tell people what to do.
No, but
that is clearly a good reason not to.
For me, it's a matter of respect.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone's there to do a job.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not even necessarily blowing smoke directly in my area, but when it's in the club and it's hanging in the air, eventually you get it, you know, and there's no getting around it. So.
Right, we'll finish off on something a little bit light. Haven't had the best of start, but they're turning it around now. How do you see Villa's prospect for the season?
They'll fuck it up. I can guarantee. That's what he's been saying. As soon as night turns to day, you know, they'll do. No, I mean they're doing all right, you know, but I still think against some of the stronger teams, some of which are below us right now. Actually, I still think we do get a bit intimidated, and so Villa's weakness has always been stamina. You know, they can't, there are other teams that have a lot better stamina than Villa. And I'm not just talking about this season, I'm talking about, you can go back as far as you want, you know. They've always struggled with keeping it up, you know, until the end of the season. So they're doing all right. They've dropped off last couple of weeks when they could have picked up points, I think. But
don't worry.
Remaining hopeful, you know, I think top 6 is not out of the question, and then I think that I don't really want to say it, but you know, I think the playoffs, if they get in the playoffs, it might be tricky, you know, because I think they will. Again, we're talking about the will to get to the end. I think it might be a bit tricky, but I don't want to jinx it. Yeah, of course.
You're playing well enough to be good, you are. So.
Well, you know, I mean, but the thing is that. You know, everybody, of course, everybody says, well, we're not strong enough to go back up again. Well, yeah, maybe not, but like, where does people really need to be? They need to be in that top division, you know, really, for as little as or as long as they can be, you know. Otherwise, you know, I mean, you could easily get stuck in that championship for years and years and years. And it could happen to Villa if they don't do it this season.
You look at the likes of Blackburn Premier League, now they're in League One.
Yeah.
And not doing amazing.
Not doing great down there, are they? No. Yeah, we'll see. It's the sort of the mental side of it is really a big thing.
Absolutely.
You know? I mean, look at Villa there. They are in that league. They are the biggest. In terms of resources that they've got, fair to say.
Yeah.
They've got a huge support, you know, stadium's fantastic. But it's all about the mental thing at the end of the day. Because if you don't follow through with that, then you could be anybody. You could be Burton Albion, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably been Leeds' biggest problem in the last 20 years or so.
Mentality, you know, yeah, definitely. They've had some
huge club.
Yeah, they've had some great sides as well over the last few years, you know, but
Right then, well, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Yeah, no worries, my friend. Appreciate it. All the best to you. Yeah, thank you.